Our speaker today is Erin. Wait, no, not again. Who decided to let her talk again today? Didn't we have a whole meeting about this? She's going to go on and on about talking trees or Hogwarts or obscure holidays again. Does anyone else have a talk prepared? Going once? Going twice? No? Really? No one? Well, okay, I guess this is Erin Finney talking about the joy and resistance today, unless anyone? Really, no? Okay, then Erin, come on up here. The UUCH is not responsible for her views. Whatever happens here, we'll still have coffee and conversation afterwards.
Thanks, Don. Come on, it won't be that bad. At least you'll only have to sit through this for about 20-25 minutes, and then you can reward yourself with donuts. Anyway, so I'm Erin, Jurich, Finney, and today I wanted to talk about finding joy. So I don't know about the rest of you, but finding joy has been touch and go for me lately. My dear husband can attest to this. He's worried about me. I may have finally cracked. No judgment here for anyone else who has. But in any case, I've decided to share some stories of inspiration, resistance, and music that is emblematic of those things in the hopes that our spirits can lift together. No talking trees today, I promise. I would like to thank Jerry Murphy for helping me with this talk. He might be available for questions afterward in case you chase me out of the church. So our first song that we sang today was We Shall Overcome, which is an African-American spiritual. And I don't know if most of you have heard this song performed by Pete Seeger. So that's where I first heard it. So he was in a band called The Weavers. And they had a string of hit records in the 1940s and 1950s. They topped the charts for a few weeks in 1950. And so then members of the Weavers were blacklisted during the McCarthy era. All right then, well now we need to talk briefly about McCarthyism. So McCarthyism, also known as the Second Red Scare, was the political repression and persecution of left-wing individuals in a campaign spreading fear of communist and Soviet influence on American institutions and of Soviet espionage in the United States during the late 1940s and 50s. So after the mid-1950s, U.S. Senator Joseph McCarthy lost his public popularity and credibility after several of his accusations were found to be false. The primary targets for persecution were government employees, prominent figures in the entertainment industry, academics, left-wing politicians, and labor union activists. Suspicions were often given credence despite inconclusive and questionable evidence, and the level of threat posed by a person's real or supposed leftist associations and beliefs was often exaggerated. Many people suffered loss of employment and the destruction of their careers and livelihoods as a result of the crackdowns on suspected communists. Some were outright imprisoned. Most of these reprisals were initiated by trial verdicts that were later overturned, laws that were later struck down as unconstitutional, dismissals for reasons later declared illegal or actionable, and extrajudiciary procedures such as informal blacklists by employers and public institutions. So many lives have been ruined. The conservative movement behind the McCarthy era also tried to paint child labor laws and women's suffrage as pro-communist, red plots, and anti-American. Hard to imagine a time like that today, huh? Yeah, it's a stretch. Anyway, according to the Kennedy Center, which I'm pleasantly surprised to say still has this information about the song We Shall Overcome on their website. So, open quote. On September 2nd, 1957, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. visited Highlander Folk School in Tennessee. Part of the school's mission was to help prepare civil rights workers to challenge unjust laws and racist policies that discriminated against African Americans. The school also made a point of bringing Black and white people together to share experiences and to learn from each other. It was a dangerous idea. At a time when Southern laws kept black and white people segregated, some white racists terrorized African Americans with deadly violence. Dr. King delivered the main speech that day, honoring the school's 25th anniversary. As part of the meeting, folk singer Pete Seeger got up with his banjo. He plucked out a song he had learned at Highlander and led the audience in singing it. That song was "We Shall Overcome." It soon became the anthem of the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 60s. It offered courage, comfort, and hope as protesters confronted prejudice and hate in the battle for equal rights for African Americans. End quote. 70 years later, we still sing this song, especially on MLK Day, and I don't know about you, but every time I hear it, it moves me deeply. The melody and the words speak to something timeless, eternal, enduring about moving forward as a people, struggling toward a greater consciousness, and keeping hope alive despite it all. So let's see, it's usually sung at andante or moderato pace, which also I think impacts the delivery of the song. We sing it a bit faster today, but often it's sung at 126 beats per minute. Which allows for a powerful and uplifting delivery, fitting for a song of resistance. And I don't know about you, but when I sing the song, I really feel it deep in my chest, right? The words deep in my heart. I know that I do believe we shall overcome someday. That just feels like it gets me somewhere deep. So the next song I'd like to talk about is A Nation Once Again. So this was a song written by Thomas Osborne Davis in the mid-1840s. So Davis lived from 1814 to 1845. He was a founder of Young Ireland, an Irish movement whose aim was for Ireland to gain independence from Britain. Davis believed that songs could have a strong emotional impact on people. He wrote that, quote, "A song is worth 1,000 harangues," close quote. He felt that music could have a particularly strong influence on Irish people at that time. He also wrote, open quote, "Music is the first faculty of the Irish. We will endeavor to teach the people to sing the songs of their country, that they may keep alive in their minds the love of the fatherland," close quote. A Nation Once Again was first published in The Nation on July 13, 1844, and it quickly became a rallying call for the growing Irish nationalist movement at the time. The song is a prime example of the Irish rebel music subgenre. The song's narrator dreams of a time when Ireland will be, as the title suggests, a free land with our fetters rent in twain. The lyrics exhort Irish people to stand up and fight for their land. Another lyric, "And the righteous men must make our land a nation once again." The Wolf Tones recorded a rendition of this song in 1972, which was voted the world's most popular song, according to a BBC World Service global poll of listeners, ahead of Vande Mataram, I guess, which is the national song of India. So, according to Wikipedia, British Prime Minister Winston Churchill used this phrase in an attempt to get Ireland to join forces with the British during World War II. In any case, the Irish Prime Minister, Eamon de Valera, did not respond to Churchill's telegram, and Ireland officially remained neutral for the entire duration of the war. Another interesting thing about this song is that it references the Battle of Thermopylae. So that was fought in 1480 BC between the Achaemenid Persian Empire under Xerxes I and an alliance of Greek city-states led by Sparta under Leonidas I. So most of what we know about this battle we have from the Greek historian Herodotus. So this battle lasted over the course of 3 days, and it was one of the most prominent battles of both the Second Persian invasion of Greece and the wider Greco-Persian Wars. So to set the stage, by 480 BC, a decade after the Persian defeat at Marathon, Xerxes had amassed a massive land and naval force. and subsequently set out to conquer all of Greece. In response, the Athenian politician and general Themistocles proposed the allied Greeks block the advance of the Persian army at the pass of Thermopylae, while simultaneously blocking the Persian navy at the Straits of Artemisium. Around the start of the invasion, a Greek force of approximately 7,000 men, led by Leonidas, marched north to block the pass of Thermopylae. Ancient authors vastly inflated the size of the Persian army, with estimates in the millions, but modern scholars estimate it between 120,000 and 300,000 soldiers, which is still a lot. They, especially compared to the 7,000 Greeks. They arrived at Thermopylae by late August or early September. The outnumbered Greeks held off the Persians for 7 days, including 3 days of direct battle, before their rear guard was annihilated in one of history's famous last stands. So the Greeks blocked the only road by which the massive Persian army could traverse the narrow pass. Leonidas, aware that his force was being outflanked by the Persians, dismissed the bulk of the Greek army and remained to guard their retreat, along with 300 Spartans and 700 Thespians. It has been reported that others also remained, including up to 900 Helots and 400 Thebans. But with the exception of the Thebans, the Greeks fought the Persians to the death. So one of the most famous battles in history, the story continues to be taught in military schools even today, and also retold by Hollywood. The bravery of Leonidas reminds me of someone who also refused to leave his country as it was being invaded, saying, "I don't need a ride, man. I need ammo." So I want to have the song played for us, and as it plays, let's see, Annabelle and Mark, would you mind passing out the lyrics? So I printed lyrics for you guys for a couple more songs. So as we listen to the song, I don't know, I guess, think about these two different populations, right? We have the Irish movement for freedom from Britain, and then we also have the Greeks fighting for, their country and stopping the Persians. Let's see. Let's see anything about that. Okay, we ready? Huh? Well, some of you might have to share. Okay, Chris, you ready?
When boyhood's fire was in my blood, I read of ancient freemen, for Greece and Rome, who bravely stood 300 men and freemen. And there I prayed I yet might see our feathers rent in twain, and Ireland long a province be, a nation once again, a nation once again, a nation once again, and Ireland long a province be, a nation once again. It whispered to that freedom's act that service high and holy would be prepared by feelings dark and
almost see those green hills in Ireland. And okay, so some of you may have noticed that tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day. So I wanted to say a little bit about that too, because why not, right? We're here. So St. Patrick's Day, or the Feast of St. Patrick, is a spiritual or religious and cultural holiday held on March 17th, which is the traditional date of St. Patrick's death, the foremost patron saint of Ireland. So he grew up in 5th century Britain, and he was from a Roman Briton family. His father was a Christian deacon, and his grandfather was a priest. So when he was 16, so this is according to what he wrote in his own declaration. So when he was 16, he was kidnapped by Irish raiders and taken as a slave to Gaelic Ireland. So his declaration says that he spent 6 years there working as a shepherd, and that during that time he found God. The declaration says that God told Patrick to flee to the coast, where a ship would be waiting to take him home. After he made his way back to Britain, Patrick went on to become a priest, and he then returned to Ireland to convert the pagan Irish to Christianity. St. Patrick's Day was made... Huh? They had a foothold for a while, right? So St. Patrick's Day was made an official Christian feast day in the early 17th century. It's observed by the Catholic Church, the Anglican Communion, the Church of Ireland, the Eastern Orthodox Church, and the Lutheran Church. It also turns out to be it is celebrated in more countries than any other national festival. So this massive diaspora of people of Irish descent are all over the globe, and you can find an Irish pub and a St. Patrick's Day parade in most of the major cities in the world. When I was looking this up, they also had records for the shortest parade, and apparently the first one was 89 feet between two different pubs. And then others tried to claim to that. There's also a shortest parade in Hot Springs, Arkansas, which is funny because that's where my sister lives. But anyway, so let's see. So of course we associate the color green with Ireland. So there's a legend in the 18th century, which I cannot pronounce in Irish, but it's called the Book of the Taking of Ireland. It tells of Goidel Glass, Goidel the Green, the eponymous ancestor of the Gaels and creator of the Goidelic languages, Irish, Scottish, Gaelic, and Manx. Apparently, Goidel is bitten by a venomous snake, but is saved from death by Moses. I don't know how Moses is showing up in the story, but Moses places his staff on the snake bite, leaving him with a green mark. So his descendants then settle in Ireland, a land free of snakes. So I have all sorts of questions about that, but okay, Moses and his staff, of course. There's also, the symbolism of the shamrock, that was apparently, it's strongly tied to Ireland, and also apparently it was used to explain the Trinity to folks. And there's ceremonies where, a bowl of shamrocks is presented to someone, and So let's see. I guess another reason we wear green for St. Patrick's Day is to make ourselves invisible to leprechauns who would otherwise pinch us. And usually, humans do this job just fine if you're not wearing green. So, leprechauns, humans. Let's see. So historically, the Lenten restrictions on fasting and drinking alcohol were lifted for that particular day, which then encouraged the holiday's tradition of revelry. I have Irish heritage on both sides of my family, So my step-grandfather, whose name was Bernie McIntyre, proudly claimed his Irish heritage. Every year, he would don his St. Patrick's Day outfit. I wish I had a picture I could show you, but this was head to toe, full-on green, with a green top hat and, a sparkly Irish-themed bling, and, full green suit. He looked like a ginormous leprechaun. And he really dressed to the nines each March 17th. Let's see. So happy St. Patrick's Day to all of you. Don't forget to wear green tomorrow. And apparently it may also be okay to start planting your potatoes. That's another thing that marks that time. So our last song is called Stand Up, sung by Cynthia Erivo for the movie Harriet. If you haven't seen this movie already, please do. It is amazing. So I want to talk a little bit about Harriet Tubman. So she was an American abolitionist and social activist. Her date of birth is not entirely certain, which is the case for many people born into enslavement on plantations. She was born in Maryland. So historians, guesstimate her date of birth as 1822, and she lived until March 10th, 1913. So after she escaped her own enslavement, she made 13 missions to rescue approximately 70 other enslaved people, including her family and friends, using the network of anti-slavery activists and safe houses collectively known as the Underground Railroad. And then during the American Civil War, she served as an armed scout and spy for the Union Army. She was also an activist in the movement for women's suffrage. So early on in life, she suffered a traumatic head wound when an overseer threw a heavy metal weight, intending to hit another slave, but hit her instead. The injury caused dizziness, pain, and spells of hypersomnia, which occurred throughout her life. After her injury, Tubman began experiencing strange visions and vivid dreams, which she ascribed to premonitions from God. These experiences, combined with her Methodist upbringing, led her to become devoutly religious. So in 1849, she did her big escape, making it all the way to Philadelphia. She returned to Maryland to rescue family members afterward, and she is quoted as saying, open quote, "There was one of two things I had a right to, liberty or death. If I could not have one, I would have the other," close quote. So slowly, one group at a time, she brought relatives with her out of Maryland and eventually guided 70 other enslaved people to freedom. And Moses shows up here too, right? So her nickname was Moses as she was leading these people out of enslavement. She traveled by night in an extreme secrecy, and later she said she never lost a passenger. After the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850 was passed, she helped guide escapees further north into British North America, now called Canada, and helped newly freed people find work. She also met John Brown in 1858 and helped him plan and recruit supporters for his 1859 raid on Harper's Ferry. When the Civil War began, Tubman worked for the Union Army, first as a cook and a nurse, and then as an armed scout and spy. For her guidance of the raid at Combahee Ferry, which liberated more than 700 enslaved people, she is widely credited as the first woman to lead an armed military operation in the United States.
The Combahee is in South Carolina.
Might be. Okay. Okay, so let's, so I'll conclude my talk and then we'll play the song and then we'll do the polylog. So I just want to conclude by saying, stand up for what you believe in, find joy in working together, don't lose hope, and make sure you are on the right side of history. So thank you, everyone, and here is Stand Up by Cynthia Erivo.
I've been walking with my face turned to the sun. Weight on my shoulders, a bullet in my gun. Oh, I got eyes in the back of my head, just in case I have to run. I do what I can when I can, while I can for my people. While the clouds roll back and the stars fill the night, that's when I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on. I can feel it in my bones. Early in the morning, before the sun begins to shine, we're gonna start moving towards that separating line. I'm wading through muddy waters. You know I got a made up mind, and I don't mind if I lose any blood on the way to salvation. And I fight with the strength that I got until I die. So I'm gonna stand up, take my people